Let's take a look at this now. Advocate Dali Mpofu's comments to Busisiwe Mkhwebane's impeachment inquiry committee chairperson Qubudile Dyantyi has sparked backlash and fierce debate. A civic organization, Public Interest South Africa, says it's dismayed by Mpofu's conduct. The group's chair, Tebogo Khaas, joins us in studio. Good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Good evening, and thank you for having me, Kathy.
Dismayed, why?
Dismayed in the sense that that is not the kind of conduct that we expect of a senior advocate such as Mr. Mpofu is. And certainly it started very gradually, but now we realize that now it's happening very quickly in terms of his conduct and venom or invectives that he seems to be leveling at the committee chair and by extension the chair itself. And remember, when he does that, the committee is those are representatives of you and I. Those are members of parliament who represent everybody. So whatever it is, the attitude that he seems to be displaying towards the chair, that's the kind of attitude that he's also doing to you and me.
The relationship between the two had underlying tensions from the get-go, but it's simply because, you know, this is a process that Busisiwe Mkhwebane, the public protector, has felt that is unfair, so certainly not surprising that there is that tension there.
There's so many things that should aggrieve us, and we all would feel unfair for one thing or the other. But the fact of the matter is that is a constitutionally mandated process. The committee is doing its job. The chair of the committee is also doing his task, undertaking his task. The parties ought to suspend the public protector or subject herself to the process, just like any other person, whether you're a president or a judge or a Chapter 9 institution leader. And it is unbecoming of leaders of this institution to think that they might be above the law. Because at the end of the day, they ought to be able to say, look, I will follow the processes and I'll make sure that at the end of the day, I will be found not guilty of whatever offenses.
To the extent that he felt he was meeting what was a provocation with the amount of vigor that he felt it deserved?
No, I watched the exchange from beginning to end, and I've watched previous exchanges as well. It cannot be that, you know, I wish I had the patience of, many of us wish we could have had the patience of Mr. Dyantyi, because quite honestly, the kind of invectives that have been thrown at him are quite unpleasant and unprofessional coming from a senior counsel such as Mr. Mpofu.
So what would you want to see happen now?
The process must proceed, but to the extent that the suspended public protector is now said to be ill, she must get that necessary attention to make sure that she gets medically either boarded or made to feel better, to make sure that she can come back to the committee and let the process proceed.
And as far as Advocate Mpofu's conduct is concerned? I
think he is just throwing tantrums and his toys around, because if, in actual fact, another argument that has been put out there is that the public protector has never uttered a single word in that committee, in the hearings. So, and it was for Mr. Mpofu to do the cross-examination. So it means that anything was going to be Mr. Mpofu talking to the witness and not the public protector. And to the extent that he had claimed that in the morning he had gone to see her, I'm sure he could have taken instructions as to what actually line of questioning he ought to be, or what kind of areas he need to be exploring with his cross-examination. But be that as it may, even if he was denied unfairly, if he felt unfairly or hard done by, there are avenues that he could, or processes that could have followed to make sure that he actually addressed that type of unfairness that he may perceived or real.
All right. So I'm assuming then that you're supporting the move to have his conduct investigated.
I'm supporting the rule of law. And if the rule of law dictates that nobody is above the law, and if there's there ought to be consequence management, irrespective of who you are, then that's what we all should subject ourselves with. And that is the kind of example that we should be leading society with.
All right. Tebogo Khaas, he is a chairperson of the Public Interest South Africa.